What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's the one and only Dark Waters. And before I start this off, let me do a little bit of explaining to everybody. So for those of you who've been swimming in the dark waters, you have your battleships, you have your submarines. Some of you guys are over there on Bigfoot Island stranded right now. I apologize, but I've been told to specifically do this for a reason. So I'm replaying some of the old things that we have because we have an influx of new people, and every time we have an influx of new people, is people who don't know and they don't understand, and there's people who assume that everything that we're saying isn't true. And so I prayed about it, and God said, no, don't reply, don't say nothing. The proof is in the pudding. Just put the pudding back on the table and move on. So today and tomorrow, you may see me putting some pudding back on the table. But just because you see this pudding being put on the table, because it's soft and it's mushy, it's easy for people to consume. And I know you guys are used to full 5-course meals. You getting, steak and potatoes and vegetables is what the family's used to, right? But I need to put a little pudding on the table, so I don't have to have discussions. There can be no arguments. There can be no discrepancies about what we do here. But once this is put out on the table, we get right back to what we were doing. And I've been told that I can do a whole lot of stuff that I have been waiting on doing to hear word from God on doing. So let's put this pudding out here. And you're going to see, for those of you who are new here, what you are listening to is the Talking Dogman show, segments from the Into the Dark Waters show, where people call in and they share their encounters. What you're going to also hear doing this is how I interact with those people, loop them, and try and get to the bottom of what's going on. Except for you're hearing it live on air. Now, for those of you guys who've been swimming in the dark waters a long time, I've finally been told I can come back and do these shows. It's crazy because I was told to stop doing the show specifically by God, and I stopped, and then I had to, it was insane because literally it's a contractual issue that I need to take care of that prohibited it, but the contract is to actually help some other people. And so I'm just like, man, okay, whatever you want me to do, let me do it. So the contracts are in the writing for these other people to help them with their channels. And so your shows that you guys love will be coming back. Both Into the Dark Waters and Talking Dogman will be coming back. The call-in show format where people can call in and share what they want to share and ask questions, and bada bing, bada boom. So that being said, for the newbies, you got your floaties on, swimming in the dark waters. You're on the surface of the water. You're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. You're trying to figure out, man, this is the right place for me. I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. What the hell is going on out here in these streets? Relax. Everybody's been through it. Everybody's been like, man, this can't be real. Man, I don't know. He writes this. He makes this up. This can't be real. You're getting ready to figure out what the truth is versus what the lie is. All right? Sit back, take a listen to the next series that comes out today and tomorrow. Consume it and understand what's going on. And in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, I am in the kitchen cooking. When I say I'm cooking, and I'm coming with the heat. So sit back, relax. Oh, members, by the way, members, you got some heat coming tomorrow called Dr. Wong. It's with the editor because it's pretty long and I didn't want to edit it. But you got something called Dr. Wong coming tomorrow. That's ignorant heat. All right, let's go. This is Dark Waters. What's your name and where you calling from?
My name is Eric Blanco. Well, you know, it's a couple years back. I got into this kind of like this biblical, you know, kind of like I don't know, like it was a confusing time in my thought. I didn't know if I believed it or not. I was going through some things at the time, and I kept going into just researching like the Bible, you know, just going into like the stories seeing if I could get actual accounts, different languages, something that I could connect
Word.
to to the to so and I did get to the point of his real name. I got to the point of learning things that I didn't know before I stepped into it, but for some reason it led me into the Dogman phenomena, which is to me, I didn't expect it to be kind of that sense. I removed myself from religion to study it. I told myself, you know what, I'm gonna give it all my effort. I'm not gonna say that I could just I'm gonna read the Bible from end to end and it's gonna mean anything. I wanted to actually like find out what passages meant something for whatever reason. It was something that I needed in my life.
Word.
And this when I started getting into the Dogman thing, at the time I wasn't necessarily going to church. I wasn't necessarily like how you say arming myself to protect myself from those things.
Uh huh.
And so when I started getting into the Dogman thing, I mean, I went deep. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen read a book called the Encyclopedia of Shapeshifters and Werewolves.
Nope.
Uh, it's a great book. I mean, I read it a couple years back when I was a teen, and this is accounts and stories of werewolf in Guatemala, in Salvador, things that you're thinking that may not exist in your area, but and it was just it almost like I've heard a story like that it obsessed me to learn everything about this dumb topic. And the reason why I feel like I wanted to call in and tell my story is because like 3 years back I was living in San Fernando Valley in California, and from this point I am working as a security guard at night. I'm listening nothing to Dogman stories, drawing, and I can draw, so I can, vividly. Even I even draw the accounts of people's stories, and like I try to make like a sketch of what they saw,
Okay.
and I got to that point. Like I have a lot of pictures, and when I when I realized that was happening, I started kind of like I don't know, fearing my home at the time. I was renting a house, and I had a garage. That's where I would go and chill, and just sit and draw or do what I needed to do. My kids would be inside the house, so um, I don't know. It was my space, And one day I had three people over. It was my ex mother-in-law. She was staying with me at the time because we had a bit of a friendship at the time. So I invited her to stay over because the kids the summer break. So she was taking care of my kids, and the girl that I was chilling at the time with, we were living at the house, and we were holding it down like a family. And she saw it first. She looks to the corner of there's two entrances to this garage. It's like they had remodeled it into like a room, and one of the entrances pointed towards the front of the house, and the other entrance pointed to like a side, so you can access the back. And we saw it on the back door. We would leave that door open because in California it's nice all the time. It's rare when you see some form of like bad weather, so you got the door open most of the time. And she saw in her description was a standing coyote, is what she said. And I'm like, and I'm looking at it, and I see a standing gray, brown wolf, and the eyes look like candy cane, like it's switching from red to white, and that's what I'm seeing. But it's not in the physical. It was more like I could see through it. I could see the door behind it, but I could still see it. It was standing on the threshold. Uh, this mother-in-law, ex-mother-in-law of mine, she had put salt on all of the door entrances.
Mm-hmm.
Like she just put salt to like cover. And I know that biblically it says that a ring of salt will hold a demon. So like if it's in the Bible, in my head I was thinking, like she did something. She did something proper. She protected us, this thing was not coming inside, but you could tell it was standing right at the threshold. And yeah, if you obsess over this topic, I feel like you invoke something that's kind of like waiting for that person, more like baiting them. Because if anybody would have gone out, I think that we would have been in some form of danger.
So I'll tell you what you experience, and I've said this and I've disclosed this. There is definitely a very, very negative spirit that gets worshipped from this topic. When people obsess over it, and the more you obsess over it, especially people who were in a situation like where you were, where you don't realize what you said. So you said, I was studying the Bible and reading the Bible, and I stopped in order to study Dogman, right? So you literally made a spiritual choice to put the topic in it's like you stopped worshiping God to worship this Dogman entity. So when you first said that, I already knew where this was going. And so that's what led to that encounter. There is a very, very strong spiritual element to this and spiritual aspect to it. For example, if I don't have those photos because I don't have the phone, but if we were to take a look at Blue's pictures out of Florida, not the pictures that were public, but the private ones, which I have permission to share now, you will see Bigfoots in one photo. You will see what looks like a dog man in a photo, and then you will see this spiritual entity clearly there in the photo, to the point to where it freaked both of us out. And it shows that there are spirits that are associated with these things. If you go back and you just think about from a biblical standpoint, and you think about the concept of fallen angels falling and corrupting the spirits, and corrupting all the flesh on the planet, and making these abominations that were soulless abominations, but still had spirits, then you kind of can see where there may have been, or you can not see, you can make the leap, or that's not even the word I'm looking for. I don't know why I'm stumbling for words, but you can make the leap of faith that, okay, well, maybe there was this one badass walking wolf back then that was like the alpha of everything, and when it was murdered or when it died, its spirit moved forward. And unless you're strong enough, unless you protect yourself, you will encounter that. So I'm just glad you let it go. You have let it go, right? Like you ain't like freaking out.
See,
Because a few minutes ago you said you was
I'm
drawing shit and scribbling shit. You know what I'm saying?
no, that's why I'm calling, because that's the warning that I'm trying to give. Because now I definitely have put myself in another level of spiritual, just awakening. I made sure that like I let go of my anger. I let go of a lot of frustrations that I had. I got a diagnosis of like health problems not too long ago, and I came out of it, I guess sane, and I think because again I've learned Yeshua, to me is, I know who I believe in. I know what I've seen. I have been, inside of the church, as you say, it really not just a seat warmer, but someone that, wanted to wake up in the morning and pray and read, the Bible as much as I could. As much as I know I've forgotten a lot of it, but as much as I remember, it stayed with me. And I know that in the times when it was dark and I didn't have anyone to guide me, I spoke to my inner self, and I spoke to God, and I.
Hey, this is Dark Waters. What's your name and where you calling from?
My name is Kerry, and I'm calling from Miami, Florida.
From the Miami, Florida. What's happening in Miami, my man?
Not much. Just enjoying the show. Just enjoying the live stream. I just wanted to call and say the thing that actually got me watching your show was an experience that I had a while back. I live in Miami Gardens. This is like an urban area,
Okay.
and I'm not gonna lie, you have a lot of different cultures here. Um, it's a lot of religions down here.
Oh yeah, y'all wild
Uh,
with it down there, bro. Y'all got all kind of stuff down there.
yeah, you got a lot of voodoo and Santeria and stuff like that going on down here, and you can definitely sense and feel a lot of those spirits whenever they come about.
You,
Um,
you mess with the wrong woman, huh?
no, fortunately, no, no, I didn't have any interactions like that.
All right.
Um, but it was one night. Hold on, give me 1 minute. Let me pass my son over to my wife.
It's all good. Take your time. It's a little bitty baby you got right there.
Yeah, man, 2 months old.
Congratulations. Perfectly healthy,
Thank
no
you.
problems.
Yes, sir. Beautiful baby boy.
Good. That's a blessing, man. That's a blessing.
But so it's one night I'm outside. Now, the area that I lived in, we were renting out a duplex, and it was right next to where my grandmother's house was. Now my grandfather is a pastor, um, so they've always kept that religious aspect over their property. And whenever you step onto their property, you can feel that it's, um, I guess, lived on by holy people.
Right.
You can definitely feel the presence in comparison to everything else. But the house that I lived in didn't necessarily feel that same aspect. Now I would go outside and smoke on my porch, on my side porch, and this was like, now that I think about it, yeah, this was like 3 o'clock in the morning. So I go outside to smoke, and inside of my grandparents' backyard, there's a very large tree. It's like 2 stories, 3 stories tall.
Okay.
And I'm hearing something inside of the tree. Now, I'm not necessarily paying it any much attention. I know we have raccoons and possums and stuff like that, so I'm thinking maybe it's one of them running the power line or something. So, in my grandparents' yard, there's 2 trees. Now, this tree was in the far back left. There's a tree in the right, and then right next to that tree is where the fence is that separated my grandparents' yard from the yard that we lived at. And there was a tree there. So in my backyard, there was 2 trees as well. There was one to the far left and one in the middle. So there's a total of 4 trees in a row. And I'm outside smoking, and I hear something inside the far left tree scurrying around. And I hear branches moving. Now, this is up in the tree. This isn't low down. And as I'm hearing the branches move, I'm like, what is that? I don't see anything. I see the branches moving, but I don't physically see anything. So whatever it is, it jumps from that tree to the second tree in my grandparents' backyard. I don't see it jump, but I hear it jump from the tree. I hear the branches breaking. Now, at this point in time, I didn't really have that much smoke left. So the little bit of smoke I did have, I wanted to enjoy it. But I'm hearing what I'm hearing, so like I'm conflicted on finishing my smoke or running inside the house.
Right. Right.
So it jumps from that far right tree in my grandparents' backyard to the far left tree in my yard.
Oh
So
hell
now I'm
no.
like, okay, what the fuck? I hear it jump from that tree to the middle tree in my yard. So now I throw down my joint. and I'm getting ready to run inside the house, and whatever it is, I hear it jump from the tree onto the ground. Like you can hear the, and then all you hear is tum 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 running towards me. Like you hear the grass moving. I don't see what this is because it's dark. I just hear the shit, and when I hear it, I just run inside the house. Now at the time my mom was there, she was asleep, and I ran inside the house so fast, and I closed the door so hard. She woke up, and she came into the living room. She was like, "What's going on?" And I'm there with my ear to the door with it closed, listening to see if this thing was going to proceed and come towards the door. It never did. I never heard it retreat. I literally just stayed right there the whole night. My mom's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I don't know. Something chased me into the house." And she's like, "Something chased you into the house?" I'm like, "Yes." She's like, "Is it still there?" I'm like, "I don't know." So me and her just there. She eventually passes it off as like, maybe he just heard something or maybe he thought it was something else. But the whole night I stood up waiting to see if it would leave. I never heard it leave. The sun came up. I looked out the window. I never saw anything, but something did chase me. And because of that, no, I was gonna say because of that, it made me go out and start looking for like creatures and stuff like that. And I ended up running into your Dogman story when you went out to Taylor.
Yeah, when I was being a full retard. Like, people get upset when I use the word full retard, but they don't realize I was the first person to go full retard. Like, they don't get it. Like, I can say it because I did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went absolute full retard, and I paid the price for it. Let me ask you this, though. So, it jumps from tree to tree, lands on the ground. You didn't see any eyes shine. You didn't see anything.
No. And if
That's
I would give a
up.
description, it seemed like it probably was the size of maybe a 6 to 8-year-old child. Like,
Really?
it was bigger than an animal for sure, but like it wasn't full grown human size. Whatever this thing was.
And how do you
Damn
get to come
sure.
to that conclusion? Because you said you didn't see nothing, but how you came to that conclusion? Was it based on the sound of it hitting the ground? Was it
Yes.
based on how it was in the trees?
The sound of the trees, the fact of like those trees were pretty big, but those branches wouldn't support me. If I was in those trees, those branches probably would have broke. So I'm assuming it would have been something like smaller than a full adult size
Let me
for the
ask you something
branches
about
to
your
not
family
break.
members over there. So your family members, were they people who were heavy in the spiritual warfare? Because you never know. It could have been they got beef. They had beef with somebody that was in a Santeria or into voodoo. Because some of those people are very, very powerful. Did they have any issues with anybody?
From my understanding, no.
Okay.
I couldn't say that they did. They never really discussed their business with their grandchildren like that. Like they'd probably explain it to my mom or something, but they wouldn't tell it to me.
What about your mom's reaction? She believed you? Was she kind of like confused, or did it? Because it sounds like she wasn't surprised.
Well, my mom has had spiritual encounters before.
Okay.
She's told me things that has happened to her, things that she's seen at a younger age, and I never really believed her to the extent of like I would hear the story and I'd be like, oh, well, I didn't see it, and you don't necessarily seem to be too shaken up about it. Like you seem like it's bothering you, but you seem all right enough to function. So maybe it wasn't that bad of an experience. But as I got older, I eventually started seeing most of the stuff that she was referring to, different entities.
Ah, I gotcha. I gotcha. So that explains why she wasn't surprised, and she was like, "Okay, something chased you in the house. What was it?" Because I know my mom, when I was younger, if that would have happened, she'd be like, "What the hell you talking about, boy? What the hell you talking about? Came in this house, chasing you in the house. Sit your stupid ass down somewhere." And then I would have to show her, and she'd be like, "Oh shit, that is something." You know what I'm saying? That lady was crazy, dude. She was funny.
I wanted to like go out there and look to see what it was, but the fact that it jumped from tree to tree and chased me like into the house, I was like, yeah, I don't know what this is, and yeah, I don't have time to be fighting whatever.
Now that neighborhood, what's around that neighborhood? We is it like is it super urban? Is it rural? What's the neighborhood like? Is it like swamp around? Because you guys got a lot of.
It's
I mean,
it's 183rd Street, 37th Avenue, Miami Gardens. It's an urban area right next to a highway. Bunch of houses, bunch of schools, businesses. Like there's nothing over here that would indicate rural or like anywhere vegetation wise.
okay,
Like
that's
this
weird.
is just the definition of a concrete jungle in this particular area. Just all urban.
And you weren't messing with no stuff, no magic or nothing, dabbling in nothing at
No,
all.
no, no, no. Never been into anything like that.
That's weird, man. That's really really weird. It's a kind of out of place activity. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't think you'll have that kind of activity around them, but you never know. It depends on what about your neighbors? Any neighbors that you knew of that was into Santeria, voodoo, hoodoo, voodoo?
Yeah, it was a lot of them around there. It's like three houses down. You had a voodoo priestess, and like I want to say 2 blocks over, you had a bunch of people who practiced Santeria over there. So it was a lot of stuff going on in that area as far as contacting spiritual entities.
That's the only thing. It seems like it could be something spiritual. You know, they're pretty powerful, bro. That's one thing I tell people: leave them people the hell alone. They are pretty powerful when it comes to depends on what type of stuff they use, and then the real ones, like the ones down here, they badass. They are on that level. Yeah, they're on that level, and you got to be careful dealing with them.